Hello, everyone. Could you all do me a favor and just, oh, yeah, awesome. David, hey, Jack. Sweet. I didn't know whether I was going to be straight in or not. I'm just going to give it a couple minutes before I kind of get into it, just to see the attendees are at 30 right now. I think I mucked up a little bit on the link. Apologies for that. So I've got 30 people right now. I'll give it a couple minutes just for people to figure out and to get online before I kind of get into it. It's going to be pretty good. First webinar. There's a lot of people here who are interested in Amazon in general, and I believe there's some people in here who already sell on Amazon, and they kind of just want to ask me questions and stuff like that, and we'll go through that. I'm going to turn off my other monitor because it's distracting me. Cool, there we go. Yeah, so sound not working for me. Back in a moment. Okay, cool. No worries, Johnny. Sweet. Right, I'm just going to jump into it, and then people can pick up when we get to it. So, if you don't know who I am, my name's Jack Perkins. I was an aircraft mechanic in the RAF. I joined when I was 18 years old, well, 17 years old, and left when I was around about 22. Went to Germany and then worked for the Americans. While I was there, I did the classic thing of how to make money online. Looked at dropshipping years ago when I was in the RAF. I was lazy, sat there watching Netflix instead. And then I came back from a 3-month trip from Q8, which I was doing like 16-hour days. And I was like, there's got to be more to this, right? Amazon FBA just happened to be the thing that I kind of jumped in. Is it your signal or mine? Oh. Could everyone do me a solid and just type in the chat just to make sure that you can hear me and see me and everything? Like it's still good. All good, all good. Awesome. Sweet. Yeah, so I was in the military and that was kind of it, right? Came back, watched an hour-long YouTube video about Amazon private label and kind of just stuck with that, right? And the reason I've kind of made this a success so far, I was asked the question, Jack, how long are you going to do Amazon FBA for, when I was kind of failing at it at the beginning, right? Answer is, I'm going to keep doing it until it works, right? Because there's loads of people out there who clearly make money from it. So why can't I do the same? It's because I don't have the knowledge, the time, or the commitment, or whatever, okay? So the important thing is to get to it. Now, the people who are interested in Amazon FBA, they've heard of it and you're here now, you're probably like, what the hell is that, right? So I'm going to go through, obviously, just a couple minutes about what Amazon FBA actually is, the benefits, and the different strategies within FBA. Okay, so FBA is fulfilled by Amazon. You can do fulfilled by merchant as well. The two different things is basically FBM, fulfilled by merchant, is sending directly to the customer. Okay, but when you get an order and then you send directly to the customer, the leverage isn't there for Amazon centers and stuff like that, right? And you have to deal with customer service, returns, and all that type of stuff. So when we do FBA, what we do is we package the products, either if we're doing a certain strategy and you can get it directly from China straight to the warehouses, or if you're doing wholesale, you buy it yourself, put some labels on it, and send it into Amazon. So like right now, I could have just got an order on Amazon and it'll be picked, packed, and shipped off to the customer next day via Prime without any input from myself. Okay, to a degree, obviously. There's got to be some stuff I do on the back end and stuff like that, but it's pretty good, right? You can go on holiday for a week and you know your products are just going and going. You don't need employees to start with. You don't need office space. You don't need a warehouse. None of that. It's all covered. So that's why FBA is so attractive, because the leverage is insane. And people always say, oh, hang on a minute, what about the fees with Amazon? They overcharge, and all that type of stuff. If you've got business experience and you can create your own brand and stuff like that, maybe Amazon's not the best place to go, right? Maybe you're going to do Shopify and stuff like that. But in terms of getting into business, the fact that you can leverage somebody's platform and their kind of logistical structure, it'd be stupid not to, right? So it's absolutely fantastic. So, like today I've sent off, say 1,000 units, sat in the warehouse, ready to go. Okay, so that's essentially what FBA is in a nutshell, right? Different strategies. Now, I'm sure you've all seen me and other people go into shops, scan a product in the clearance section, and then say, you can sell this on Amazon and make a profit, okay? That's retail arbitrage. And you can do online retail arbitrage, same thing, but you're on like a website, obviously on the internet in the clearance section, okay? That is typically if you've got, I'd say, less than £1,000 and you kind of want to get into it, and it's just getting used to how Amazon actually works and making a little bit of money on the side. Okay, wholesale. This is when you're actually going to reach out to potentially brands directly or go to wholesalers and buy in bulk. Okay, whether that's by the case, whether you're buying 100 units or buying by the pallet, it's not as bad as you think it is. You might think, oh my God, I have to spend loads and loads of money. The minimum order quantity for a lot of brands and wholesalers out there can be £150, £300, and it's not actually that much. And I recommend having at least £1,500 to get into wholesale. Okay, that's obviously because it's splitting risk and everything like that, and obviously you want to learn how to do it. With private label, this is when you've probably seen the videos online, how to buy stuff on Alibaba, right? And that's what Johnny's been doing for the last 10 years, and he'll be with us in around about 30 minutes, and he'll be just going through a Q&A, explaining private label in a little bit more detail. So that's going to be pretty good. With private label, though, you typically, I mean, Johnny will tell you himself, but you want at least £3,000 before you kind of get into that. And ideally, you will need some Amazon experience to reduce your risk, okay? Because jumping straight into private label, like I did, I lost a lot of money, okay? So it's pretty bad. Cool. So that's pretty much Amazon in a nutshell, right? Obviously, just the kind of strategies that you might be interested in. Now, for the people who kind of already, actually, I want to know if that's okay. Can you just let me know, spam in the chat, if you're a beginner, just say beginner. If you're already doing sales, say how many sales you've made. If you're doing private label, whatever, just do, okay, beginner, 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 beginner. Oh, wow, so many. Okay, 3K in sales. Nice one, William. Private label, Alex, nice. Beginner, 30K sales, 5 months in. That's awesome. 3.5 years, starting private label. Cool. Okay, so there's a pretty decent mix. Okay. And obviously, by the way, I forgot to say, but if you stay to the end of this, it's really ideal because basically I'm going to be telling you guys about something that's coming out in the Amazon space in the UK, which is going to be absolutely insane. And you guys are actually going to be the first to know about it. Nobody's supposed to know about this for at least a few hours. So you guys are going to be the first ones to know about it, which is going to be pretty crazy. As well, I did promise giveaways. So at the end, I'm going to tell you exactly how to get free mentorship from myself, which is going to be pretty decent. So all you need is the money for products. And obviously, you can take a look at my page and see people who are already making money and stuff like that. So it's quite decent. Johnny, he's going to be giving away a 1-hour session consultation. And obviously, he's done over 30 million in private label. Now, it's going to be different who gets the option to do private label and wholesale, but I'll let you know at the end exactly how that's going to work. So a couple things for the people who are doing wholesale now, and I often get asked those questions of, Jack, how do you grow? Do you know what I mean? I had a look actually, I've done 1.3 million in the last 12 months in sales, which is pretty crazy to be honest. And a lot of people are saying, how do I get to that point from doing 10, 20K months to £100,000 a month and stuff like that? And everybody should understand this, but essentially, you need to get to that point where obviously you're putting systems in place. You need to be 100% dedicated with your time. And you need to think outside the box, right? With a lot of you guys doing wholesale, sometimes maybe you will do, I don't know, 3 months worth of sales, 6 months worth of sales, a year, and then maybe the product drops off and stuff like that. Okay. And maybe your margins are a little bit smaller. So you need to find the opportunity within the products that you're selling and the products that you're seeing and actually come away from that core knowledge that you have. Not come away from it, still do it and implement it, but realize that to make bigger money on Amazon, you need to realize there's other routes to selling on Amazon. Okay. Now, they still fall underneath the wholesale and private label strategy, but I believe that once you've done these, then you'll start to see other opportunities. It's important that you keep an eye out for that. Basically, the simplest way to know this, in my opinion, is if you see an issue that a brand is facing or a product or whatever, see how you can potentially give your skills and knowledge and insight to how you can potentially help that brand or something like that or that company, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're doing Amazon 24/7, you're pretty good at it, right? And a lot of companies don't actually know what they're doing. I had a call with a company about 6 months ago. Um, I'll say the name. It's because you guys will see it. It's called Neon Distribution, right? They sell a lot of pet stuff. It's called Bugalug shampoo and stuff like that. You guys have probably seen it, and you'll be, oh, can I sell this? You can. Okay, it's the company that owns it. I was on the phone to them and the director, right? And 2 years ago, they had no idea what profits they were doing on Amazon. They had no idea. The director said they were in a bit of a tiswas. They didn't know what was going on. So they actually hired a business consultant to come in and show them exactly where they were making money and where they weren't. And this is absolutely insane because it's an international company doing millions. I had another call with somebody who was selling a particular board game for a famous guy, which is nuts in itself. I was speaking to his brother, and they asked me how much profit they made on their particular product. They didn't know. They didn't know how Amazon worked. I'm going to tell you now, they did not work it out correctly and they did not declare stuff correctly. But that's insane, okay, to even know that they did crazy numbers, they didn't actually know what they were doing. So obviously you can kind of put that knowledge there. But obviously, if you just want to do like the side hustle and make, say, £500, £1,000 a month or whatever, you don't actually have to go as serious as you might think. Just to get £1,000 a month extra, you need £33 profit per day. And that's not a lot, really, is it? I mean, when you really think about it, 24/7, the products are selling. As I said, it's highly leveraged. It's out there. Get a box of products, send it in. Bosh, you're good. Okay. Right. What else did I kind of want to speak about right there? And a lot of this as well. The people who already do Amazon right now, I'm sure you can agree that once you start with this, if you really want to make it successful and make your life better, it's not just an Amazon path that you need to take, right? Obviously it is business. A lot of people are like, "Oh, do you declare that income?" Yes, it's a business. Okay, it's not some crazy little thing going down the car boot and stuff like that and reselling, right? It's proper stuff. So yes, you have to declare it and treat it properly. But also your mindset's a big thing. You know, people ask me. Somebody actually messaged me earlier, Jack, how much time do you allocate to work per day? Pretty much all the time. Unless I've got something important, I try not to watch films and stuff. Sometimes I will if you need to like let your head go, but pretty much all the time I will be Amazon, Amazon, Amazon. When I first started, I was working 7 till 5, and then I would go to I'd go climbing, eat food. It'd be about 7 o'clock, and then I'd sit there on my laptop for about 3, 4 hours trying to understand what's going on. Okay, so if you really want to do big numbers and you want to take it seriously, you have to be willing to put that work in and not do stupid stuff with your time. Okay, which I'm sure a lot of you won't do anyway, because obviously the fact that you're already here shows that you want to put the time in and actually make something of your life. Okay, and not just that, obviously, but make a lot of money, build wealth. Um, and I don't want to say Amazon is get rich quick, but I can tell you now the stuff that I've bought in the last couple of years or can buy and the position I'm in compared to when I was in the military, I'd have had to work 15, 20 years in the military to be able to save up the amount that I've got now, which is absolutely ridiculous. So is it easy? Yes, compared to what you're probably doing in terms of the 9 till 5. Because when you're doing it for yourself as well, you're like, hang on a minute, this is fun and I'm benefiting directly. Okay. Now there is a delay. So obviously, say the work I do today won't actually be realized for 3 to 6 months, for example. It could be a month or so, but you know what I mean. Especially at the beginning, a lot of this right now is that you're building your knowledge base and your skill set. A lot of people jump into Amazon thinking, whoa, I want to be able to be bosh, bosh, bosh and getting it right. But some of you might not have certain skills that you need to develop before you're at that point, right? Everyone's got different things. I'm running a group right now, and I can clearly see everybody is fantastic, but everybody has their own points that they need to work at. Okay, we're all different. So before you start comparing yourself to other people, realize that there's certain skills they might have or certain opportunities that they've kind of been not given, but they've got in front of them that you might not. Okay, so don't be like, hang on, in 2 years he did this. I'm nowhere near that because you've got your own situation. Okay, so don't beat yourself up on that. And obviously, with the mindset stuff as well, you want to be as open as possible, in my opinion. Everybody I speak to who does more than me and people who are in the space anyway, they don't just yeah, Amazon, I want to make money. There's a lot more behind the scenes that you might not realize. And when you look at anybody who's successful and you actually start speaking to them, you realize how nice they are, and how they actually want to help you with your life. Okay. So if you've got this thing, oh, rich people are horrible, blah, 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 and all that, all these excuses, chances are you're just projecting your own insecurities onto other people. Okay. Onto the rich. They're actually really nice people. Okay. Um, Cool. So, that's pretty much what I wanted to do in terms of an introduction and a little bit of a chat. I'm just going to open it up now for some Q and A's if people want to chuck some messages in. Whether that's completely new stuff to do with Amazon. Let's try to keep it wholesale if it's specific to um, Amazon itself, and then I'll let Johnny answer all the private label questions. And obviously, if you want to ask me any arbitrage questions, then feel free to do so with that as well. Hi, mate. VAT registration is fast approaching. What's your best tips on how to tackle it? So, what I did, mate, and I regret obviously the way I handled it, I waited till I hit that point and I was VAT registered and everything like that. And it was very difficult for me to actually figure out what the hell was going on. And it turns out I was actually doing it wrong for the first 3 months. But luckily, I was working it out the way that actually benefited me. I was like, hang on, I think I'm making 30% ROI, £2 profit, blah, 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 whatever. And then I was like, oh, no, I've been doing it wrong. But I was actually making £2.50 profit per unit and a better ROI. So it was pretty decent. But in terms of that, I mean, obviously, I take it you spoke to your accountant and you've kind of got that point where you've got a set date that you're going to be VAT registered and everything like that. If not, do that. Validate all the products that you've got now as if you were VAT registered, because the last thing you want to do is get to it and look at everything and be like, oh shit, I'm no longer VAT registered. Okay. Now, a lot of people, I had a call with somebody the other day. I don't know whether they're in here now, but They basically said that they were VAT registered at the start of their business and they wanted to carry this over into their Amazon business, especially wholesale. I was like, no, 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 don't do this. Okay. I'm sure, Tom, you understand, right? It gets to a different point when you become VAT registered, so you don't really want to force that. But because you've had that period of 85K sales, then you should have the skills and the network and stuff within your relations of your suppliers and stuff like that, that you've got to a point where you can appreciate where the good stuff is and where the bad stuff is, right? Now it is harder, mate, but it's kind of just is what it is. Now, the people out there who just want to make 2-3 grand a month extra, you can get to a point where you're doing that and stay beneath the VAT threshold if you really wish to. Do you know what I mean? That is an option. But if you want to take it dead serious and take it to a crazy place, you're just gonna have to break through that. It's a hard point when you hit that VAT registration bit, but it is what it is, mate. Just keep through, keep going, smash it. Have you got any specific questions in terms of the VAT registration preparation, or is that kind of covered it ish? Can you send any box into Amazon like a different branded box? To be honest, I keep seeing that they're not happy with this or something, but I just send the boxes that they come in, the products, or I just you can go to Kite Packaging, or if you buy a large amount, I use Simpson Packaging and I just buy a couple of boxes by the pallet and just so it cheapens it up a bit. But most of the time, you just send it in really. As long as like barcodes and stuff like that's covered, you should be okay. Would you wait until you're VAT registered to contact bigger brands? No, no, just go for it. Don't put limitations in front of you that don't actually exist, right? Because you'll get to this point and you'll be like, oh, hang on, I probably need this. I probably need that. Call them, ask them, find out, see how it goes. Okay. If they say, oh, you need to be VAT registered and they laugh, a lot of them are robots. They're not even going to realize. Okay. So get to it in a few weeks. Sorry, call them back in a few months and they won't even know who you are. Chances are, honestly, it's insane. So yeah, don't wait. Just do it because you'd rather have that information now rather than later. Okay. If you're VAT registered though, are you not claiming on the purchases too? So not so bad. No, mate. Yeah, I mean you do claim on stuff that you purchase, but obviously you're collecting the 20% uplift on the sale price. So when it balances out, obviously you need to be efficient with your VAT registration. You need to VAT compliance and stuff. You need to obviously say you've got an office, claim the VAT back on that. Any VATable expense, you need to make sure you're claiming for it to be efficient. But you no, it's like you could be doing a product that's say £2 profit per unit, 30% ROI, pre-VAT, and then you go post-VAT registration, and that product could be wiped out, and it's not profitable. If you need a hand on actually figuring out how to calculate that, the people who are going VAT registration soon, just drop me a message and I'll help you out. Um, when you import from the US, do you use an LLC? No, mate, I don't. Johnny actually gave me the contact of who he uses. It's a Westbound Global. Just comes straight to my limited company. Now, the particular brand I'm working with in the States at the moment, bit of a pain. I had to do all the export and import and everything like that, so it was a bit, but no, you just do it under your limited company, and then they'll be the exporter, so that's fine. Um, if you're brand new, what are your membership details? Do you mentor? Harriet, yeah, I do. For the mentorship and stuff like that, just drop me a message on Instagram. It's the best place. We can have a phone call and a chat and just see exactly whether it's for you as well. I don't want to just give it you and say, yeah, you should do it if it's not for you. So we can go through that. What's the best way to stop Amazon charging VAT on fees when you're starting out? So Ryan, so when I teach people, I don't actually tell them about this, to be honest, because I think it gives I know some places out there do tell you to do it straight away, but I just believe it gives you a false sense of what actually works and does not work. Okay. So you might be like, yeah, I'm doing really well. Okay. And then you get to VAT registration and then it completely flips and you're like, whoa, nowhere's good. So it gives you even less of an appreciation for actually what does well and what doesn't. So personally, I think it's best just leave that alone for a while. And then when you hit that 85K, you'll likely you will get all that back anyway. I got 5 grand back and I was like, oh, cool. You get the money back. You're still profitable from all the previous stuff and you actually learn what's good and what's not. So that's my opinion on that, Ryan. But obviously, I have got a link to a guy on YouTube who explains it very well on how to do it, and I can always give you that if you decide to just get the VAT on fees away. How has it gone? What would be your advice in terms of the way to approach calling a wholesaler brand? There's different strategies to this, mate. It's tough. It depends on the product itself. It depends on your position. Are you a company? Are you not? Have you got a website? Are you going to position yourself in one way or the other? Essentially, you need to make yourself as appealing to the brand or the wholesaler as possible, right? Put yourself in their shoes. You're calling them, you're emailing them. Do you look as if you're a company or an individual that they want to work with, right? Really dig into that. Don't just be like, you spend all this time finding a product and a brand or wholesaler and all that. The last thing you want to do is when you come to close, essentially opening it, you don't want to ruin that, right? So you want to take it dead serious. Um, cheers for that, mate. You've mainly covered everything. If I think of anything more, cool. I'm using Jungle Scout at the moment, but finding it hard to find products. Any advice? To be honest, mate, the thing with Jungle Scout, right? Obviously, you'll see people online just say, yeah, use Jungle Scout. Okay, cool. Now what? Do you know what I mean? It's like me. It's just not as simple as that. It's a fantastic tool, but you need to know how to use the tool correctly. You need to know the manual methods behind it because a lot of the time, not a lot of the time, sorry, some of the time, Jungle Scout will be incorrect and it'll be giving you false information. So you might be thinking, "Oh, I've got a banger here," but you really don't. So essentially, this is why we test products and go small to large because we can actually gather the data ourselves and physically see it as opposed to fully trusting the software. But that's a whole thing in itself, mate. It's very, very hard to go into that without talking for about 2 hours. Um, do a demo of a call to a brand, please. Again, mate, it's different, mate, depending on the product itself, because I might position myself as one thing or another, or maybe I'm going for exclusivity. It completely depends on the product and the reason why I'm selling it. So ask yourself that, right? The thing is, most people in here, you'll know what you need to do, but you just might not be doing it, right? I know it sounds silly, but it's the stupid things, right? Do you feel anxious in life? Okay, what should you be doing? Going to the gym, for example, working out, and you're not doing it. So just do the things that you should be. For that, just write down. This is the best advice I can give you. Write down the product and look at exactly what you want from it, and especially what they want from potentially selling to you, and how does that work? Do you know what I mean? Um, yeah, because there's 100 different variations of how the call could go. Would being VAT registered kill your lower products when you were VAT free? Um, would being VAT registered kill your lower products when you were VAT free? It's dependent, mate. You just have to do the calculation. Some make it, some don't. Um, you need to do the calculation. What's the best way to find exclusive deals with brands? Find a point where it's not working for them, find an issue within it, whether they know about it or not, present it to them, close, essentially. There's a basic structure to that. Right, I'll go for another 2 minutes and then I want to get Johnny on, guys. How do you structure inquiry emails to potential suppliers, brands? Always call. James, how many personal emails do you get per day, mate? How many do you think, nope, people have got jobs, you're not their priority, especially if it doesn't stand out that well, right? Cool, get the information. If you want to get rich or wealthy and everything to a decent standard quickly, then you need to act quickly and get information quickly, okay? Everything's all about speed, right? You see, and I think I said about exclusivity then, find the pain point and fix it. What are the deductions from Amazon each month before you can evaluate your profit? Tom, obviously we spoke earlier. What are the deductions from Amazon each month before you can evaluate your profit? So there's a fee per unit, mate, and that's fulfillment and storage and being selling on Amazon's platform and stuff like that. There's a fee that will be shown. And also it's like, to be honest, it's like 30 quid, 40 quid a month, something like that. I haven't even looked, I just let it go out. So it's not a lot. But the thing is with the deductions, right, and the fees that you pay, you pay the fees when you sell the main stuff. Obviously, the storage stuff and that, if you put something in there and don't sell it for 12 months, but the main fees, you don't pay until you sell the product. That's why it's absolutely fantastic, right? It's not like most businesses when you have to get employees and get offices and stuff like that straight away, and you've got those fixed income, fixed outgoing, sorry. You've just, yeah, it's awesome. Best way to plan for seasonal products, i.e. Halloween, Christmas. To be honest, mate, I've done this a few times. I don't absolutely love it. I think that might be a good one for Johnny to answer potentially because it's more kind of private label. I don't do too much wholesale on the seasonal. I just think it's too risky, to be honest. How do you work out how much you can pay yourself from your profit at the end of the month? I don't do it like that, mate. You need to speak to your accountant and figure out how to be most tax efficient. It depends on your personal situation, whether you've got, say, property or you've got other sources of income. It needs to be right for you. So it's a completely different thing. I pay myself bare minimum because I don't really need the money for my monthly expenses and stuff like that, personal ones. So I just leave it in and just be as efficient as possible through dividends and stuff like that. Okay, one more. If your sales are under the 85k limit, do you have to pay tax on the earnings? If so, how would you pay it? So VAT is different to corporate tax, mate. So VAT is obviously like a collection of that. And if you're under the 85k limit, yes, you still need to pay tax. Obviously, I'm not an accountant, blah, blah, blah. But you need to pay corporate tax. And obviously, your accountant will guide you through that. It depends on if you're below that and you're not under a group structure, I believe it's 19%. But then if you have a group structure and you have companies doing over 250k, then it can go up to 25%. But it's a relatively new thing, that, so you need to speak to your accountant. Cool, right, 26 minutes. So I think I'm going to grab Johnny on now because this is with my schedule. Cool. So I'm going to bring Johnny on. I'm going to let him obviously talk about, himself, an introduction, and exactly kind of how he got into Amazon, answer any questions like that. Cool. So, Johnny, I don't know whether I need to bring you on, Johnny, or whether you need to click the button, mate. Oh, I think he's coming.
Okay, hello. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Nice. Oh, mate, I've just saw the chair as well. I got a new chair today, and yours looks way better than mine. Secret Lab one, nice.
Well, do you know what? I'm not actually that keen on it. It's quite hard, and I've had it about a year now, and I thought it was going to soften, but it obviously
Okay.
hasn't.
This one is brilliant, and it was 100 quid, and it's soft, and it's got a massager as well, apparently. So, ha.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Awesome, mate. Well, anyway, I'll let you introduce yourself and kind of, just go with it, mate.
Okay, thanks. Well, obviously, thank you, Jack. I've obviously known you for about a year now, and for anyone that's listening that's not seen Jack before, he's a very humble guy, and he's playing a lot of this stuff down. But honestly, it's a serious, serious business, and you've made a lot of people very rich, basically. If you're not doing wholesale, or maybe you're doing arbitrage, or maybe you're new to Amazon, I would highly recommend going with Jack, or at least speaking with him about what he offers, because yeah, he's produced some incredible results for people, and well, life changing basically. So
Cheers, man.
yeah,
Talking about being humble, I think you're the most humblest guy. I mean, your figures and everything, God. I think a lot of people here will be listening to what you say and be like, oh, okay.
yeah, fair enough. Okay. Yeah, I know. Well, to be fair, we had a weekend together, didn't we, where we were discussing things. So
Yeah.
yeah, just got to know each other a little bit better. But I guess to give a little introduction, thanks, Chanel. To I guess give a little introduction to myself. So I've been selling on Amazon for over 10 years now. So I'm a little bit older than Jack, not much. Started off doing all sorts of different products, and then eventually got onto my own branded stuff, started doing private label, which if you don't know what private label is, maybe just write "don't know" in the box or something like that, and I'll give a brief overview anyway of what it is. But essentially, it's seen on the sort of structure as sort of arbitrage, and you get into wholesale, and then maybe you look to get into your own branded products. So there's several pros and some cons to private label, but essentially what it is not necessarily creating your own products, but taking what's out there already, creating better products, and just putting it into your brand. So you get exclusivity, you get control over creating the product. You don't have people jumping on your listings, because quite a common problem, maybe for some wholesalers, is the penny reprices. So there's quite a lot of competition. Not saying that's a bad place to start, because it definitely is the correct place to start with wholesale. If people come on your listings, you've got brand registry rights, so you can kick them off. You can create your own trademarks, which ultimately means that your business has and your brands have serious value. So I personally know quite a few people that have exited their business after they started. They created several products, several brands, and they now sold their business and their Amazon business to aggregators. So as an example, someone I know I think they were making like 300 grand a year, and they managed to exit their business for around £1 million to an aggregator. So it has real tangible value and structure to it. So over the years, as I've built and grown my brand, or brands rather, because I've got quite a few now under my company, I've just created systems, operations. I've got a team. So we have quite a lot of people that work in my office. I've got warehouses, and the whole infrastructure basically. Now, you definitely can't start with that on day one or even month 6, really. You have to almost cut your teeth in the other strategies before you can get to this. So that's why I'd definitely say, if you're starting out looking to make an extra, well, anything really, Jack, I guess
Yeah.
you've had people making thousands and thousands a month from wholesale.
Yeah, that's it. If you
Um,
jump on the YouTube link, if nobody's seen it, I put it up yesterday. Sean, who's actually coming on in about 30 minutes. But yeah, there's a full video me and Sean had there, which is crazy stuff. He started 4 months ago. Nuts.
yeah, that is really cool. So yeah, there's obviously quite a few differences with wholesale and private label. Um, Both pros and cons, really. I mean, if you're just starting out on your journey and maybe you've got a low amount of capital to invest, or you just want to get some experience on how to sell on Amazon, then wholesale is definitely the way. And then generally, quite a lot of people who approach me, maybe they're doing 6 figures a month or even 6 figures a year in wholesale, and they want to transition and create their own brands. But I think, Jack, there's quite a lot of different variables, isn't there? Like, even people who are just starting out, some people just want to skip straight through the steps and do private
Yeah,
label.
that's it. And I think some people have got quite a short-term approach as well. And I think
Yeah,
people need to realize that for private label, it's not, I'm going to pick it up and drop it when I want, which to a degree you can do with wholesale, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
private label, the amount of effort that goes into creating a listing and a brand and to push it, you need to keep it in stock and active. And it's a long-term strategy, isn't it?
it
Because
definitely is.
yeah, especially at the beginning, you know what it's like. Well, I now know what it's like over the past year. The startup capital to really get it going, and even once it's going well, the latest product that we were talking about the weekends that I launched, I think it cost me about 6 to 8K on launch to make sure I had enough stock. And now it's doing well in terms of the money I've got into that product that's coming from China and obviously in stock right now. I think there's about 15, 20 grand in that one product. And that's just to keep it
Yeah.
in stock. So it's kind of like, I mean, it's a pretty decent product. It's doing all right. But still, there's a lot of capital that goes into it in time and longevity, right?
Exactly. And I think you mentioned at the start about really you need a minimum of 3 grand if you want to launch a product. You can do it for a bit less. It's just going to take you quite a lot longer to grow, basically. And the thing is, if it really takes off, you just need to reinvest that capital straight away.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
think
more of a long-term approach.
that's the risky thing as well to a degree, isn't it? Because if you put the 3 grand down and it goes nuts, and then all of a sudden you need 10, 15 grand to really stock it, you're like, well, I don't have that.
Yes.
So by having that wholesale business, like, ticking over and producing cash, that's perfect. And then your private label goes well, and all of a sudden the cash is coming in still, and you're like, hang on, I need a big injection of money there. Maybe I'm going to ease off on a couple of wholesale products that are lower margin to then pump that cash towards the private label,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. A much longer term approach.
Yeah, awesome. If you're happy, mate, I reckon there's a good time to maybe chuck it into a Q&A for you, if that's okay. If
Yeah,
anybody
sure.
wants to, yeah, chuck in the chat box some questions about private label. It doesn't just have to be private label. Johnny's a pretty good businessman as well, so anything related to that, I'm sure he'll be happy to answer.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, no problem. Well, like I said, I've been doing it for a long time now. Built a team, operations. We import from China. Anyone that follows me already on Instagram, I recently got back from a 3-week trip to China, going to our factories, seeing our agents, everything getting produced, and even loading the containers whilst I was there. So we have containers going not just into the UK to our warehouse, but straight into Amazon's warehouse. We've got two that have just checked into Germany. So it's crazy at the minute. There's lots going on.
it's an exciting Q4 coming, I reckon, mate.
Definitely, yeah, the biggest ever, hopefully,
Yeah.
like it is every year. Okay. Do you want to pick them out, Jack, or shall I look?
Just go for it, mate. Yeah, I think James Jeeves was the first one. Can you use Facebook,
Okay.
TikTok ads? I think he was the first question.
Yeah, definitely. So, James, can you use Facebook or TikTok ads to advertise your Amazon product, or is it not as effective as Amazon ads? So, definitely, you can use other traffic. So, external traffic is super, super helpful for your Amazon listings. I mean, you can advertise on wholesale listings, um, but yeah, for private labels specifically, it just gives it well, I've heard people call it like extra juice in the system. So if you're driving external traffic to Amazon's pages, that can even be more efficient and more effective than Amazon ads. So if you're able to get cheap traffic, um, maybe via organic TikTok, then yeah, I definitely recommend that, and maybe driving them to your Amazon page. So Ben, how many brands do you now have? So I think last time I counted, I think we've got 7 in brand registry. That does include a couple that I've got registered in Europe. So that covers like Germany, France, Spain, and Italy, and obviously all the rest. May I'm looking for a decent freight forwarder from China. Any recommendations? Yep. So Jack mentioned one earlier, which I've used regularly. So that's Westbound Logistics. So those guys are really helpful. Whether you're shipping single boxes, pallets, containers, part containers, whatever it is, those guys they're really good at their job, and they deal with a lot of Amazon sellers. So um, they'll definitely be able to help you.
They're so rapid as well. Obviously, I just started using them recently, and they were
Yeah.
like, "Boom, boom, 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 boom." They were on it to the people, the business out in the States constantly. If they don't respond within 2 hours, they're like, "Excuse me, I need an update on this." And I was like, "Yeah, please." Yeah, it's perfect.
Thing is, that's what we want, don't we? Like
Oh, yeah.
it's fast e-commerce, and yeah. Okay, William, if you start Amazon, where should you aim to be in sales within 12 months? Oh, that's a tricky one. So I'm sorry, I'm going to kind of sit on the fence here. So it is super subjective. Um, it depends how much you're starting with. Um, yeah, how fast you want to do it. Are you doing it full time? Have you got a job already? But I mean, realistically, you should be able to do. I mean, Jack, do you want to say any figures?
I mean, I don't want to say, obviously saying sales, right? I think a lot of people get hung up on the sales. I mean, sales are fantastic, obviously, but
Yeah,
the profits are the key, really, aren't they? And what it's actually going to give you. So, like, in my opinion, I know guys who have started with a couple hundred quid, a few hundred quid, I'm sure you have as well. And if you put the time in correctly and you're dedicated, there's no reason why you can't replace your income and more
yeah,
within
you're
12
right.
months. It's all dependent on the person.
I guess if I was to give an example of like students that have been successful, so I've had lots that have been successful. So just an average, maybe 3, 4 grand a month profit after sort of 3, 4 months,
Yeah.
and then climbing from there basically. So private label does take a while to get going, but once you can get it rolling, it's sometimes unstoppable.
Yeah. I think the best story I've heard right now is a guy in the States I spoke to about trying to bring his products over to the UK. And
Yeah,
the guy worked on a fishing boat. And he was, I think, like Deadliest Catch and stuff like that. He was actually on one of the boats there. And in his spare time, when everybody was going out drinking off boat, he was doing an hour or two here and there with this brand that he created. Now it does about 30,000 units a month on Amazon US. Um, which is pretty nuts considering it was only like 2 or 3 products, right? And let's be honest, like that's a game changer product. That's fantastic. But even then, just to get a product that does 2, 3 thousand pound profit a month isn't as far away as you might think it is.
honestly, it's really not. And I was talking to a guy a couple of days ago who did my program, and he sells just in the US. Now he created a brand around a sport that he really likes, and he used that as like his driver to really push it.
Yeah,
And he's doing, I think he said he's doing like 40 grand a month in sales in the US, and he's making 10 grand a month. And
nice.
he literally started 6, 7 months ago.
That's
And
nuts.
honestly, it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, I think that's where the passion comes into it as well, right? Because
Yeah.
he built it around his passion, which obviously that's not easy because you know what it's
No.
like. A lot of time you're just going on the data of what's obviously already selling, and you're just going to go with whatever. By doing it to something you love, you're obviously narrowing down your kind of opportunity, aren't you? But fair play to him. That's insane.
Yeah. Okay. So, Darcy, do either of you offer a private label course? If yes, what is the initial cost to get access to the course? Jack, you're just doing wholesale programs, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. I only do wholesale programs. Yeah, Johnny's the private label guy. You want private label? Go to Johnny.
Yeah. So, Darcy, just message me if you're interested. The cost is relative to the outcome. So, what we've been talking about is, I'm not going to lie, it's not cheap. It's at least a couple of grand. But the outcome is, it can be
Insane.
seriously life changing.
Yeah.
Um,
And with that as well, obviously, we've spoken about this a few times now, but the first product I ever did was private label. I lost thousands and thousands, which you would have looked at after 10 seconds and be like, yeah, don't sell this. And you would have
yeah.
told me why. And it would have saved me a year and about, I was like 3 to 5 grand. So,
Yeah. So in relative terms, like the cost of these programs, it's more about the time saving and the mistake savings. I've had so many people join me just to ask me about a product which they're literally about to pull the trigger on an order.
Yeah.
Like one guy joined and he was like, "I'm about to spend 7 grand on this product. Can you check it over for me?"
Yeah.
With it, like you just said, within 2 minutes, I said, "You do know it's losing money, don't you?" Because he hadn't calculated all his fees properly, and
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh my god, you've just
I
saved me seven
yeah, I
grand."
I think that's another reason why a lot of people should do wholesale before they do private label, because it actually
Exactly.
gets you to understand Amazon. Because again, hands up, when I did my first private label launch, I was like, "Yeah, I think these are my costs."
Yeah,
I wasn't 100%, and even that in itself is ridiculous.
yeah, you're right, Jack. Yeah. Um, okay, Theo, how long were you doing purely wholesale before moving towards PL? So I wasn't doing it very long at all. Probably like, well, in relative terms, maybe like a year. And then I just fixated on private label. I just saw that that was where the opportunity was at that stage, and just never looked back. Basically, Connor, to be successful in PL, do you have to find a very unique product? Um, I wouldn't say so. No, and there's literally millions of products out there, and there's opportunities with every product to find an edge, find a competitive edge, and this is what again I teach at my program about how to find that edge. And there's ways that you can then discuss those with your supplier to make sure that you're getting it for the best price, the lowest quantity, basically the lowest entry point possible. Um, so yeah, uh, there's different ways to do it basically. Ben, loved your 3 week journey. Did you film it all? Would love to watch. Yeah, Ben. So maybe you'd seen some of my Instagram stories. So yeah, to be honest, I've only put one blog on my YouTube at the minute. The others are in progress. I've just basically not had time yet to do it, and I'm not the best film editor. So if there's any editors out there who wants to work with me, then
Yeah.
let me know. Um, yeah, so I'm going to be uploading those during the next couple of weeks, basically, just to get everything like behind the scenes, factories, all that sort of stuff, all the good stuff. What do you think of wholesale private label bundles, Jack? Do you want to go that? Do that?
Yeah, sure. So this is actually something that I've been doing recently and looking into. Personally, I think it's fantastic, but you have to know exactly what you're doing. You need to have an appreciation for both wholesale and private label, what you can and can't sell to a degree. Do you know what I mean? Because you don't want to be trying to use somebody else's product and then doing it incorrectly. You see a lot of people out there, they may be selling, say, Dove deodorant and then putting it underneath their brand. That is a little bit risky because it's just not good. But there's certain ways that you can go about it that makes it pretty good. And it's in terms of the risk, I think as long as you do it correctly, it's fantastic because the wholesale product, if it tanks your listing, you can always sell it on the wholesale listing anyway,
Mm.
and you still have protection over it, and you have a lot of the benefits of private label. But even with that, if you've got a particular wholesale product that's on that listing, and then the wholesaler, the brand stops doing it, you've lost control, right? So that's why proper private label, like what Johnny does, is you've got so much more control because it's up to you. If you want to stop selling it because it's not going well anymore, you can. But yeah, I think it's ideal, but you really need to think about exactly what kind of product you're doing and how you're gonna position it. Because the certain words you use and stuff like that, and what you might be selling, it's a bit, um,
That's a
yeah,
good point. And
risky.
just to sort of jump on the back of that, Jack. So we were discussing about this at the weekend that a lot of people had this misconception, maybe with private label, that they're looking for this like golden egg, golden goose, whatever you call it, this unicorn product that makes 100 grand profit a year. And the reality is that it doesn't exist. And if it does, you need seriously deep pockets to even entertain it. So if you can find a product that's making 2, 3, 4 grand a month, then that is an ideal space to start. And then all you need to do is just repeat that process. So instead of getting carried away thinking, I need a 20, 30 grand a month product, whatever it is, you don't need to do that. Just start small, prove the concept and just scale it from there. That's what I've done. And that's what the majority of other people in private label have done to scale their business.
And I think with that, mate, as well, a lot of people need to realize that this is a dynamic space. So your product might be doing £3,000 profit right now, but then all of a sudden, maybe you head over to TikTok and then it just goes crazy.
Yeah,
Maybe the problem that that product is solving, maybe that problem becomes massive. That's take COVID, for example. Perhaps you were selling a particular like safety item that you were selling and you're selling 100 units a month, COVID hits, and all of a
Yeah,
sudden everybody needs that product, right? And that could turn from 100 units a month to 10,000 units a month. You know,
yeah,
you obviously that can go both ways as well. The problem can be solved and you no longer need it, but it's a dynamic place to be.
yeah, exactly. So Darcy, does the private label course on Jungle Scout have valid and current information? I don't know. I don't have Jungle Scout, so we have Helium 10. That's the main private label software. They do have online programs. If you have 6 million hours to go through each video, then go ahead. But the specific stuff that I don't know. I mean, these guys are creating software. It's different from actually selling on the platform sometimes, and a lot of the time you just need concise, to the point information, like Jack provides and myself provides, that just pieces the information together, action, and just go from there.
Yeah, I think
Um,
like the Amazon University as well. By the way,
oh
everyone,
man,
you know, don't go in there because essentially Amazon are trying to get you to sell the way they want you to sell. Right? There's loads of different strategies on Amazon. So how do you know that information is relevant for you? You might be reading something that's to do with private label, and you have no, you don't want to go down that route. Right now, you're going down the wholesale route. So what you're reading is not correct. It's different strategy by strategy.
exactly. Okay, Connor, nice and nice and simple. Are you a millionaire? Big respect for your graph, mate. Uh, I, well, I mean, in a nutshell, yes. I mean, if
You'd
I,
have pretty bad margins if you weren't.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And again, we were talking about this at the weekend that you don't necessarily have to be like, full. I mean, this is just my opinion. You don't necessarily have to be super passionate about Amazon. It's a wealth building vehicle as far as I'm concerned. So from my point of view, I've now invested a lot of my profits into property. I've got a seriously big property portfolio, and all the rest of the stuff that goes with it. That's kind of the boring stuff: ISAs, pensions. Um, so yeah, basically, it's a gateway to other things. So if you're interested in like crypto or you want to go traveling, then you just use Amazon as a vehicle to get what you want. So if like Jack said before, if you want spare time, you want to spend more time with your family, more holidays, you really don't need to do that much more in a way, do you? You
No.
can keep your full-time job. Like none of us are saying you have to quit your job and go into Amazon. For a lot of people, this is just like a side hustle. A few extra quid a month pays your mortgage, pays your car bills. Um,
Even if you wanted to do one brand as well, you're on about layering and that's then the next brand. You could just do one and then you're doing 4K a month and you're like, oh, you know what? My bills are relatively low. I'm just going to let that build up and, you've got an extra, I don't know, say £40,000 a year in the bank, cool. That's on top of your normal wage, whether you put that towards a house, holidays, stuff like that. So you don't have to even layer those brands. It all depends. But let's be honest, once you get into this, I think you catch the bug a little bit and you're like, hang on a minute, this is real. When you get that first sale, especially those profitable sales, you're like, this is crazy.
yeah,
Like my original target was £1,000 a month online income. So I could go and sit in Thailand and have a good time for a few years and just sit on the beach to a degree. And then as soon as I first made that, within a few months, I was like, hang on a minute, I could take this further.
Bryony, interesting, but feel content is too advanced for where I am. Absolute beginner. Yeah, I mean that's perfect for you then, Jack.
Yeah, I think the first kind of 5 minutes was, kind of the introduction to what Amazon is as a whole. But I think as a beginner, anyway, there's only so much we could talk about, really. I think it's if I could sit here and, instruct you and tell you how to do certain things on Amazon, but it's not going to be too beneficial. I think it's better to see the bigger picture as opposed to the first, the beginning part of Amazon and to realize where you can take it. I think that's the important thing. But Brian, if you've got any questions in general about the starting Amazon, the beginning stuff, anything like that, anyway, feel free, ask the questions. Even if it sounds silly, a silly question, please ask. Because yeah, we will give you an answer.
Okay, James, with private label, do suppliers dispatch direct to Amazon for you, or do products still come to you first? So, James, for me, a little bit of both, really. If I was starting brand new with private label, I would send them straight into Amazon and not even come to my warehouse. So we sell on multiple platforms, and we bring in goods for other companies as well now. So because I've proven the model, proven the concept, whatever, I can source products for other companies and get it cheaper than what they can buy it for. Obviously, that's in big volumes, not just like 100 units or something. But yeah, if I was starting out brand new, and the way you do it is you just basically get in QC companies, which is quality control companies in China, vet the products once they're completed, check it's up to spec and up to standard, and then yeah, they can dispatch it straight into Amazon's warehouse and all around the world. That's the other thing, Jack, isn't it? Like, it's a global company. Everyone knows that, but to actually think about, you can send it to the US, Australia, UK, Canada, Europe, wherever. They've got a marketplace, so
I think it's nuts when you get into actually selling as well. Like, I actually had a moment earlier when I was checking out a product and I was just looking at where it was on the bestsellers, and I don't know what, it just hit me all of a sudden. I was like, hang on a minute, that's mine. I put that there. You know, they're my pictures, my description, my products. I sourced it from China, brought it here, imported it, sold it. You know, and you put all that together, and you're like, that's pretty nuts. And when I got the first US sale ever as well, I was like, that's nuts as well. So when
it's
you
a good
look,
feeling, isn't it?
yeah, it's pretty crazy to be honest, especially when obviously a few years ago, or even like you might start now, and then in like 3 months previous, you were like, wow, I just bought stuff on Amazon, I had no idea. And now I realize how sometimes when you buy certain products, you realize you might be overpaying because people are doing certain things.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but yeah,
James, do you do your own photography and videos for products, or can you get away with using Alibaba pictures, etc.? Yes, I do my own pictures and videos. I sometimes hire an agency to do them, or to get the raw images, and then I'll get someone on Fiverr to then create the infographics and things like A plus content, if you know what that is, just to spruce them up, basically. So it's a several stage process for me. I wouldn't really recommend using the Alibaba ones, generally because they've stolen them off someone else, and you don't want to get in trouble with some of these big US companies, or you know whatever they are. They're all on Amazon, and if you're using their photos, they'll they'll let you know about it. To both of you, did you have a timeline with milestone moments when you started out, or did you take each stage as it happened? Jack?
I think milestones are like important, right? I mean, there's obviously certain ones that are there that are just good, but I definitely noticed that when you hit certain points, you're like, oh, that's cool. And then you're like, oh well, it's done. It's a momentary kind of thing, isn't it? At the moment, I'm trying to change my kind of thoughts on it, and less about hitting certain points, but more like, what's that actually going to do to my life? Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, oh, I'll take an extra 5 grand a month. No, I'll go do this. I'll go do that. Like, I'm looking to go to Thailand in November, and I'm going to be able to just work from the computer, and I've got a team that's just going to look after everything here. Perfect, right? So for me, the new milestone is less about X amount of sales and this and that. It's about my actual day to day and how that looks, which is still obviously a milestone, but I've just changed the way I've kind of looked at it.
From probably from myself, not really. Like, I guess I was, like, as daft as this sounds, I was counting like the million sort of as like a milestone, but now it's just like it's just business. It just rolls into one, and maybe sometimes I should stop and reflect more on what we've achieved. And I don't know, you get so carried away in chasing that next target that sometimes you don't appreciate it as much. But
I
yeah,
think well, obviously your plans, if you're happy to say, mate, what's in the new year. Obviously that's a milestone in itself as well, right? That's
yeah,
completely
yeah.
changing your life, really.
Yeah, exactly. So, me and my partner, we are sort of the two bosses in effect in the business, and we're actually moving out to Dubai. So we're going to have like a trial period out there for a few months where we're basically essentially just moving our office desk. We're working there. We've got the team in the UK, just for a different lifestyle. So we're kind of at that point now where it's like, okay, financially we're okay. Like, things are going quite smoothly with the business. Let's go and live somewhere else. See if we can really make this a proper laptop lifestyle business, if you
Yeah.
like.
And the thing is,
Um,
you've actually got that opportunity through this type of business. I mean, if you do
exactly.
most businesses, or a lot anyway, you need that physical space where you're going to have to be there.
Yeah.
And it's quite, you can definitely get to that point sooner. I mean, the fact that I've only been doing this, a couple of years, and I'm already at that point as well, obviously different financial level, but they're still, working from your computer. And to be fair, if you do the private label the way you said, obviously, if you get it sent directly to the Amazon
Yeah,
warehouse and get a QC team to do it, then essentially you can do it anyway.
you
I
can
mean,
work from anywhere.
exactly.
Yeah,
When I first started, I was an aircraft mechanic in Germany, and I was buying
yeah,
stuff from China and sent it to the UK.
yeah.
Obviously, it didn't work out at that time, but it was there. The opportunity was there.
um, I approach brands found on Jungle Scout and ask them for a recommended distributor. Should I stay consistent on this method or try something else, Jack?
Um, I don't think that's a terrible idea. I think it's pretty good, to be honest. It depends. I mean, essentially, you're starting at the top of the supply chain, right, and working your way down. It's not a bad way at all. But obviously, you've got to ask yourself: is it working for you? If it's not, why isn't it? Are they not getting back to you? Are they not giving you information? Um, Y A lot of the time, if you think you've got to ask a question, it sounds silly, but write it down and ask it to yourself. I know that sounds stupid, but chances are you already know the answers, but it's just when it's in your mind and you're trying to look at it in a two-way approach, it's hard to ask the question and answer it. So write it down and say, "Is this working, or should I do something else?" Well, hang on a minute. Is this working? No. Okay. What can I do different? Why are they saying no? Kind of look at that. But I don't think it's a bad thing to start at the top and go down. If it's okay with you, Johnny, we'll do one or two more, and then I'm gonna get Sean on.
Okay. Then what do you drive?
What do you try?
Just just a humble Range Rover. Like, I'm not a Lambo guy. I'm not one of those people, don't worry.
You will be in Dubai for a week, I reckon.
Maybe
You'll
just
do a
give
run.
it a few revs and then
Yeah,
send it back.
that's it.
Um, Connor, when do you start to employ people to source for you and package? Plus, how does it all work with transitioning to a boss? Um,
Good
so from my point of view, I guess I've always been in control of like sourcing the products because like I guess that's what my speciality is, and I now get the rest of the team to do the operations and run the sort of the daily business basically. So then I've just learned about becoming a boss. Um, so yeah, I guess just at different levels, you just have to grow into it basically. At times it's uncomfortable, but growth is uncomfortable, and you just have to get used to that. And I think I talk to people about this kind of living in a constant state of stress almost as an entrepreneur, but at like a 6 or 7, even 8 out of 10 generally. Whereas most people who, not most people, but some people who are just in a daily grind every day, you're just a 3 out of 10 on your stress levels. Um, you just get used to it. You just adapt to the how to become a boss effectively. Maybe I should. I'm a bit of a friendly boss, so I'm not a big bad boss like some people are.
Mate, I think it's good. I don't think it'd be nice to come into a place and everybody's like, "Oh God, I don't want to go in there," right? Because if there's an issue as well, they're less likely to approach you. Obviously, you can't be a total pushover, and if somebody like works
No,
8 hours a day and they come in for 2 hours and they're like, "Oh, I'm late, I'm leaving early," you know. But I think when you're nice, people tend to respect you as well. And if they're not, you can just be like, "Well, see you later,"
yeah,
right?
exactly. Like recently, we've been super busy with containers and pallets and stuff like that. Like I'll still get involved in all that. I love that side of it.
That's what
Um,
blows my mind. Whenever you on your stories and you're like, "Oh, the guys need a hand," and you're driving the forklift and you're getting the pallets out, and I'm like, Johnny, surely, what you got things to do, bro?
I know, but sometimes that's what you like, and it's just part of it. So yeah, I love
Yeah,
it.
fair, awesome. Well, anyway, mate, I think we'll leave it there on the questions if that's cool.
Yep,
Really appreciate you coming on. I hope everyone's appreciated your time as well and got a lot from the questions that's asked and everything like that. Sorry, I just saw Craig. Will we get a recording? I have chucked it on record, mate. So yeah, I will be putting that somewhere. I don't know where yet, but somewhere. But yeah, cheers, Johnny. Really appreciate
okay.
it.
Thanks a lot, mate. I'll turn my camera off.
Cheers, man. Catch you in a
Cheers. See
bit.
you, everyone. Bye.
Awesome. Cool. I hope everyone enjoyed that. Right, I'm going to be bringing on Sean now. So Sean joined with me about 4 months ago, and yeah, it's pretty nuts. If you've seen the YouTube video, sweet, it's pretty good. But we're going to be talking a little bit more about it, and I think it's quite ideal because that's why the way I've formatted this is the way that yeah, I've been doing it a couple of years and I've had success. but you also kind of want to see some longevity to it, Johnny, and then somebody who's just started, which is Sean, right? Because then you get each point from the business. Because everybody always asks, is Amazon saturated? Is it dead? Blah blah blah. It's not, and this is just a good example to show you that it works. Do you know what I mean? It's pretty simple. People are making money, new and old. It's just all about adapting and making sure that you stick to it and keep that work. Cool. So I'm going to bring on Sean. Hopefully he's here and available. I believe so. I'm going to click some buttons. I don't know whether you have to do it, Sean. Ah, here he is. The man.
The man,
Awesome. Have I
bro.
muted you? Ah, there you are.
How's that? Is that
Awesome,
good?
mate. How you doing, bro? You good?
Yeah, good. Thanks, man. How are you?
Good. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Um, yeah, are you happy just to introduce yourself, mate? You know, similar to what we did the weekend when we were
Yeah,
talking,
yeah.
and
No
we'll just
worries.
go through it.
Yeah, so I think I'm the same age as Jack actually. Um,
28.
28. Yeah. So electrical engineer. Been on the tools for 7, 8 years now. Kind of getting a bit tired of it. Something a little bit easier on the body maybe. Um, Come across Jack and yeah, not really looked back since.
Yeah, I think it's pretty crazy, isn't it? The fact that you started obviously 4 months ago with me anyway. You were doing a little bit before, um, and I think obviously we're going to go through a decent amount of Q&As and stuff. But I think the question I want to kind of ask you as well, I think a lot of people will be interested in, is how much time do you actually think you put into it at the beginning before you start to see some success?
Yeah, so I think at the beginning it was a lot of retail arbitrage. It's a lot of time consuming, a lot of time put into going to different shops, looking for products, and it does get quite what's the word, like daunting on it, because if you're not finding products, it's very like hard to keep the mind like that. This will work. This will work. But when you find that one product, then you know that something's right, something's working there. So as long as you can put the time in, it does take a lot of time. There is a lot of time going into it, but it does pay off. It does work.
Yeah, I think it's there's so many reasons to stop, right? Because constantly there will be issues. I can remember one day when I was setting up a printer, my new thermal label printer in the garage, and it took me like 4 or 5 hours to set up. And I still want to think I'm a stupid guy, especially with technical stuff. And I was like, why is this not working? The format just wasn't working well with the printer. And honestly, I was pulling my hair out and I was like, I'm going to smash this thing. Amazon's not
Yeah,
for me. You know, and
I
that
had the
was just a
same
daily,
problem.
it's a printer. And it
Yeah,
almost got the better of me to a degree, right? And those
yeah,
times are going to come, and it's just how you handle it, right? I think anybody who gets to obviously your level of success right now and past, and even before, y- there's a lot of things that you're going to have to deal with that's a bit shit. And when you're at work, maybe you've got somebody else who can do it for you to a degree and be like, oh, help me with this, blah, 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 I'm bringing it in. Or you're like, you know what, my shift ends. Somebody else is going to fix it on the other end. But with this, it's like, no, I need to get my shit together and do it. Right.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, 100%. It's just keeping yourself accountable for it. If you want to get someone with it, you need to be the person to tell yourself this has got to be done.
Absolutely. And before we get into the Q&A kind of bit, mate, just so everybody's kind of got an appreciation for what you've done. Obviously, you know, you started 4 months ago, you know, properly going for it. And just give everybody, if you're happy to, you know, give some sales figures, profits.
Yeah, yeah.
What's that kind of look like for you? And just,
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, sorry. Last month I hit my first 10K sales, and then this month I was on for 8K total sales. Slowly run out of stock. I've got the restocks on. They're getting delivered tomorrow. So I hope I can get them turned over the weekend and sent in. So I can maybe try and push for the end of the month just to get another few thousand in. But yeah, other than that, it's about 20% net. So I think it's about 16, just under 1600, which is crazy money for me. That's
yeah.
it's
I think
yeah,
it's for everyone. I mean, an extra 1,600 quid a month after 4 months of graft. And that's on
yeah,
top of obviously your you know, your main job right now, which I think is it's insane because a lot of people ask as well. I'm sure you ask yourself, but you know, there's always the question of, hang on, I've got a full-time job, I work out, I eat, I've got responsibilities, I don't have the time. And then quite quickly you realize, yeah, you've got the time.
100%. Yeah,
Um,
there's always time to find. Don't
and
watch the film. Don't. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Don't go for the dinner for that night, or don't go to the gym that night. There's always time to find.
Exactly. And I don't know about you, mate, but I love bringing this up to people, especially obviously sellers. That for me, there's two products that always kind of stick on my mind, right? And there's the one is the first product you ever sell because you've proved the process that you can buy something, send it to Amazon, and sell it. It might not be profitable, but you'll remember it. And the second one is that first product that really changes your life in a sense of like, hang on, I've found it. I just buy and sell it, and it's making me £1,000 profit a month. That's insane. And
Yeah,
then
it
as
is,
soon as
yeah.
you get that feeling, that's when the hook is right in there, and you're like, God, I'm gonna find me 10 more of those.
Yeah, 100%. Even when I get sales now, I'm still sending them to you like, look, I've had my best day sales. Is the feeling of making sales is great. Even just that first sale as well. It's great. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, man, it's nuts. I still get excited, by the way, on every single, well, not every single product. Sometimes it becomes a bit like, yeah, cool, it's selling today. Yeah, looks good. And then sometimes when you launch a new product, a new strategy, or whatever, like I had a product sale today for the first time. That's an FBM one that I'm not really, it's not going to be a big earner or anything like that. I just want to test it a little bit. It ends up being about £25 profit per unit, and I don't really, it doesn't cost me a lot. And now and again, I just get somebody to chuck a label on it and gets picked up. Like so ridiculous, and I get so excited about that because it's a bit of FBM, it's a new product. So I think it's really, really awesome. Um, if it's okay with you, mate, we'll move to like a bit of a Q&A bit.
Yeah,
I
no
think this is
worries.
really ideal for all the beginners out there, especially because, essentially, Sean, half a year ago or under anyway, was exactly where you are right now. Didn't know too much about what was going on with Amazon, and you've heard him right there. He should, as long as he manages to get his stuff in stock and everything like that, a potential £1,600 profit extra to his life this month. So, yeah, it's definitely a good time to ask as many questions as possible.
Yeah, no worries. Do you want me to just go through them like Johnny did?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, that'd be perfect. If we start from Tom Hall, just because I think people were like messaging when we were talking and stuff, but it's hard to find exactly where we were. So if you had a question prior to Tom Hall, then please just comment again and we'll get to it.
I'm not sure where he's.
So he's just a couple up. He's like third up. So it says,
How much do you start with? I know you're doing wholesale.
yeah,
So when I first started back when I think it was like January, February time when I wasn't really doing much, it was only a couple of £100. Um, yeah, made a few mistakes with it, wasn't really getting anywhere with it, and then I think I saved up a bit of money once I was seeing Jack's TikToks and funded that. More value for money, definitely worth doing. But then I think I've probably put in about £1,000 of my own money now, but slowly just building up. It's hard because cash flow is always a problem, but I'm slowly injecting more cash of my money because I know I'm getting it back from Amazon. So it's definitely slowly creeping in more because I just want to keep pushing it and pushing it. So I'm slowly putting more money in, knowing that it's coming back. So it's not too much of a struggle.
and then that's the thing with that, mate. I'm sure you agree. Like, a lot of people, when you hear about investing, right? You think about stocks and stuff, and it might give you a 10% return on a year. And what you're focusing on right now is maybe a minimum of 30% over a month. And if you see below
Yeah,
that, you're like, that's not worth my time. You'll find a new
yeah,
product and it'll be 100%. And you'll be like, that's better. Double my money this month. Okay.
yeah. That's it. Yeah,
Mental, really, isn't it?
crazy. Yeah. Uh, how were the first 2 months, mate? So starting without Jack, first 2 months, I think I probably did, I don't know, about £200, £300 for the first month, and then about £300 for the second month. Wasn't great. Profit was okay. Maybe like £100 profit here and there. But time you take out the fees and everything else, Amazon's cost, the monthly subscription, seller amp, and everything else that goes with it, I probably wasn't. I was probably maybe breaking even, but you could see something was working. And then I think my first month with Jack, I think I paid off his mentoring while still on it. So for the first 2 months with Jack, I was already in profit, paid his calls off, and still in
I can
profit.
remember that message. I can remember being like, what the, because it's
Yeah,
nuts. Because obviously you come back to always thinking about like, university and courses and stuff that you might pay, in the typical kind of structure of life, 30 grand for a university loan for 3 years all of a sudden. And then obviously you pay, X amount and then you pay it off before you actually finish the instruction. I just think it's nuts.
yeah,
Absolutely
it's great.
mental.
Yeah, spot on. How much did you start with? I've already covered that one. Do you buy from different wholesalers or do your products come from like the same wholesaler? Yeah, so I think I've got about 4 wholesalers at the moment, and I'm starting to get into manufacturers. I'm trying to stop focusing on getting it from the supplier rather than getting it from the third or fourth person down the line. That way I'm trying to save the money from them, because everyone's taking their bit out of the product. So time you get it from a cheap wholesaler like the ones that come up on Google, you're not going to make any money on them, because they're buying it from 3 wholesalers before them. It's just not getting anywhere. So now I'm trying to aim at the manufacturers and the people who are actually the main distributors from those products.
And to touch on that as well, like once you become VAT registered, you will have to go to that point. But the fact that if you stay below the VAT threshold and just make a few extra £1,000 a month, I think you'll agree, mate, as well. Like if you decided now that you did want to take it to a nuts level, because you do, don't you?
Yeah.
If you wanted to just sit at say £2,000-3,000 profit a month,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
I
Once
think
you've got the skills,
once you start, it's all started as a hard side hustle. I just make £500-600 a month and whatever. But as soon as you get into it, you can see a way out of the 9 to 5, and you can see the lifestyle that you could potentially have. Like with you going to Thailand and Johnny moving to Dubai, it's there and it's takeable. It's definitely there.
yeah, it's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who's next?
Done that one. Did you have any money to start Amazon straight away, or did you work your way up with the arbitrage? Yeah, so like I said, I was doing a couple £100 on arbitrage stuff and making £300-400 in sales. But when you start taking out fees and Amazon, I don't think I was probably working it out right. So I was thinking I was making money, but probably wasn't actually doing that well with it. But I probably started with a couple of £100 and then focused on getting enough money together to pay for Jack's course. And then that's kind of where it all started taking off. And I thought, right, let me invest the money. I think it was about £1,000. And it's just kind of gone from there. And I'm at to, like I said, 8K this month, hopefully, if I can get the stock in.
Yeah, nuts. Ben, as well, if you don't mind, mate, I'll just take this one. I've seen Ben said that about 1,600 a month. Do you spend it, right? A lot of people, you guys need to realize this. If you just want to make a few extra pound a month and you've got say £5,000 to put into whatever, then it's cool, because you can take that £400 profit out and it's not a big deal. But if you just made £1,600 in a month, right, and you're like, oh, this is pretty good, and you want to take it out straight away, go out for a nice meal, and all that stuff, it's just not the clever thing to do in business. Do you know what I mean? It's less of, you need to think less like an employee mindset and more like a businessman, right? Instead of thinking that £1,600 can get me this right now, you've got to think, hang on, I'm going to keep that £1,600 in straight back into more products, more, until it gets to a point where you've got so much cash in the bank, you're like, hang on a minute, I'm going to take £5,000 out. I'm not even going to be bothered. Do you know what I mean? That's my opinion on it. I think Sean probably agrees.
Yeah, definitely. I'm leaving all the money in there for now. I don't really want to touch it. Like I say, I'm trying to grow it now. It started off with, every time I make 500, I'll take the 500 out and I'd spend it on whatever. But at the moment, it's keep the money in there, buy more products, find more products, buy more products. That's the mindset at the moment.
Exactly that. Because if you just keep taking that money out when you make it, you're never ever going to grow. If you actually want to grow your business, reinvest, just keep going. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure everybody here, 40 people at the minute, I'm sure you've all seen, was it Dragon's Den, right? And it's something they always ask. How much have you taken out for yourself? Well, I've not taken any, or just enough to live off, right? And that's how you make it to a big level.
Yeah. How did you source your first major product? Did you call the brand directly? Did you find it on Jungle Scout, or the ideal approach to a brand wholesaler? Yeah, so my first one I actually found using a source. It's called Source Mogul. It was a website that I come across, and I got a free trial for it, and I found it did great for 2 weeks, and then I think probably 50, 60 people jumped on the same listing and just killed the price straight away. Complete waste of time. But by then I'd already bought more of it, so I all the profit I made went back on it, and it kind of just went downhill from there. So I kind of left those leads and source things alone, didn't touch them.
Yeah.
Not the one.
Lead groups are bad, guys. Leads are bad.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's just not good. You need to learn how to actually find the products yourself and not just be given the fish and then eat it. Do you know what I mean? You need to actually learn how to go out there and get the products yourself. Don't go to Fiverr looking for product sources. They might be shit and you'll have no idea they're shit, because if you don't know what you're doing, how are you supposed to validate their work? So just stay away from all stuff like that and just get into it, that you're going to actually have to build your skills and get in there.
Yeah, and then the biggest thing I had to overcome was calling wholesalers and brands. Sometimes you think that you're not sure what you're talking about, and it's not the case. That just speak to them. They're just people, and you can get over it. And sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. It is what it is. Next one. What ROI are you currently getting? Are you that registered? So I'll try and stay around 30%. If there's a product that I can get and I'm making £5-6 profit on and it's below 30%, then I'll definitely go for it. But I'm trying to keep above 30% at the moment, and I'm not that registered now. I'm like Jack said, I'm going to try and push it to the limit of the 85 before I look at getting that registered.
And with that 30%, guys, by the way, that figure there, you don't really want to creep under that, because the 30% accounts for potential refunds that might happen, returns and stuff like that, or potentially people tanking price and things like that. So by sticking to a 30%, you just limit your risk. And borderline worst case scenario, as long as you do what you should be doing, you can walk away and get your money back at least. And that's an incredible place to be, right? Invest your money and you at least get your money back. If you obviously do the wrong things, obviously you can lose it if you do the mistakes, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong on Amazon if you don't really know what you're doing.
Next one. When did you first start? Where did you get your boxes from? So, do you know what? I still haven't bought a box from anywhere. I've
Nice.
just supermarkets, anywhere you can get a box, I get a box. I get a lot from work as well. I'm always emptying boxes up at work and flat packing them and putting them in the back of the van. I'm not willing to pay for boxes just yet. I'm trying
You know
to
what?
reduce
I
the
need to
cost.
do that. I need to go back to that, because at the moment I realise I'm spending about probably 150, 250 quid a month on boxes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit. But it's more convenience more than anything. But
Yeah. I think, if I was to come away from site and stuff, then it might be a bit easier. But at the moment, if I can reduce cost, then 100%,
yeah,
that is what I'm doing. So 100% wouldn't advise buying boxes. If you can get them from somewhere, supermarkets are a great place. If you can get supermarket boxes, then I would just go for that.
and most of the
Yeah.
time you just repurpose the boxes that the products come in
Yeah,
anyway, right?
definitely. Yeah. So if you're ever ordering offline, it's always going to be sent in a box anyway. So if you're doing the IRA stuff, that you might have to provide the box yourself. Hi, fellow Sparky here. How did you overcome contacting suppliers during site hours? Tried to get numbers on previous night, then call on lunch break. Yeah, pretty much same thing. Lunch breaks. There's a couple of days I've taken off when I started taking it a bit more seriously, just knowing that if I had 5 or 6 to do, I wasn't going to do it in a lunch break, so I'll take a day off and just call them all in one day, get it all done. Always write my emails out the night before, so I don't want to be sending emails at 7, 8 o'clock at night. I just don't think it looks professional. So I'd always draft them, send them at 8:30, 9:30 in the morning. So then they've got a bit of time in the day to get back to me. And then after work, if I've got any calls coming through, I'll just deal with that then.
That's a good one,
Yeah.
especially saying that, mate, with the sending emails in the daytime. It's that small thing of looking professional, and that can really be the small little things that when you get an email, you're like, why is he sending it to me at 8 o'clock? And then some other stuff in the email or whatever that's just not very formal and looks good, and they're like, spam. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that, just stay away from. So it's really important, as you said, to make sure you position yourself as a professional.
Yeah. On lunch breaks, etc., anyone would tell you, okay. Have you got a confirmed date for the start of your next course, Jack? It's for you.
Yeah, so not a confirmed date yet. We're looking that it's going to be end of the month or maybe the start of next month, but it's going to be within the next 3 weeks. I'm going to be closing applications for it probably in the next 7 days, and then we'll have a date for it, mate.
Okay. How do you find wholesalers at first? I find many where they're well-known ones. I mean, Jack does go into some detail on how to find suppliers on his course. Definitely helped me, because I was just doing the general in Google, finding the product, Dove soap. How do you find Dove soap distributors? And you're going to get the same as everyone else. You need to think outside the box. You need to, I mean, you could find a wholesaler on page 8 of Google, which no one else has gone that far. There's multiple ways to find it, and Jack does go into how to find these products, but there's so many different ways.
That's it. I try to answer it now as well, but the thing is, what I would say is, assuming that you know a lot of stuff already. And I noticed that a lot of time when I speak to some people, I'll start to go on about something and they're looking at me like, what are you talking about? Even people who come into Amazon sometimes with my mentor and they're like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, and not to say that they're doing bad by any means, but we'll cover certain topics and they'll be like, yeah, I didn't know that. It's quite important stuff. So it's important to get your foundations right as well. So I don't want to start saying stuff to you now in terms of that's going to confuse you more than it's going to answer it. But Chanel, if you're already doing Amazon anyway, to a degree, just drop me a message and we can arrange something.
Okay. Before calling brands, what sort of products were you trying to source? Ones that you've obviously not really heard of. Yeah, so like I said, I had softwares. I had Jungle Scout. I had SAS Seller Amp. If it tells me it was selling, it was selling. Before Jack taught me how to validate products myself using Amazon, it was just going off information that I was getting off of these websites, Jungle Scout and SAS. And if it was looking at good numbers, high returns, then I was just trying to find it from RA, and then I was looking at wholesalers, trying to just find where to get it from them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right. If it's cool with you, mate, I reckon we'll probably leave it there.
Yeah, no
And
worries.
yeah, I really appreciate your time. I hope everybody's appreciated your time as well. And hopefully it was valuable to everybody to see somebody who's just started less than half a year ago and he's already doing fantastic. Honestly, it's nuts. Yeah, well done again, mate. And
Yeah, cheers, Jack.
yeah,
Thanks a lot, mate. I'll see you guys
awesome.
later. Bye bye.
Cheers, mate. Awesome. Well, hope everybody liked what we were doing then, obviously with Johnny and Sean. Now I'm just going to give a couple notes anyway on some stuff that's happening that is absolutely nuts. Cheers for staying to the end. The 36 of you that have or dropped off a couple. I mucked up on the link as well, which was my fault. Won't do that next time. So essentially, right, this thing what I was talking about that's coming, right, for the Amazon community. It's coming very, very soon. Yeah, nobody knows about it yet, but I'm going to tell you now. So essentially, I'm going to be dropping a link down that is, if you're a beginner to Amazon, intermediate, £1 million a year seller, this is going to be a pretty decent place. All the kind of things that you might struggle with, whether you've got questions, whether you need better shipping rates, literally A to Z, Amazon, this is going to be the place to go. It's going to be absolutely nuts, right? So I'm just going to drop the link here. Now it's not open yet. I've just dropped it there. Please, somebody just check it quick and make sure the link's working because this is the first time the link's going live. So I just want to make sure that it's actually coming up. Somebody could do that. That'd be awesome. It's good. Awesome. Cool. So it's not actually live yet. That's just to register that it is coming soon. And it's pretty soon. Just over a week. Okay, don't tell anyone. But yeah, it's going to be nuts. So if you've got any questions about it, right, I'm going to be dropping some videos about it over the next week or two. Anyway, saying exactly what it's going to include. And you'll see a load of other people out there, probably if you're on TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that, discussing what's going to be on there. So it's going to be pretty good. Now, the other things, okay, so obviously I'm going to be giving away a free mentorship. And Johnny has been kind enough to give away 1 hour of his time as a consultation, which is, very, very nice of him. I do appreciate it. So basically what I want to do is I want to give different people the different opportunity, right? So essentially, if you've already gone through my mentoring or going through it now as well, and you're here, then this applies to you as well. And you could potentially get a refund instead. So what I want you to do is if you're interested in the free wholesale mentoring, drop me a message on Instagram saying, don't do it yet because I just want to cover something. I just want you to message me on Instagram saying free mentoring, just so I kind of know. And then your name's going to get put into like a random generator or whatever, and it's going to spit it out, right? Now you will need some money to obviously actually buy the products, and I want you to take it serious. There's nothing worse than when I give free mentorship to somebody and they don't take it serious, right? Because it's a fantastic opportunity, and there's people who have taken this opportunity before, and it completely, it can change your life essentially, right? And then if you're already doing wholesale, I think it's more beneficial that you kind of get an hour of Johnny's time. So if you're already doing wholesale and you're looking to get into private label and you would just love to speak to Johnny on a one-to-one basis, then message me saying private label consultation, or just type just private label on its own. That'll do, and then I can allocate you to the generator that's going to be for Johnny's time. Okay. So yeah, they're the two giveaways. It's going to be nuts. Now I will put it on my Instagram story, whoever wins it anyway, and obviously I'll message you about it. So it's not going to be one of those things when it's like, oh, I'm giving something away for free, and not okay. So don't worry, I will publicize it. And as soon as that person's making a ton of money, I will be pushing that out there and showing them off and be like, look at what they've done, because people do it. And it's awesome. It's a great feeling. Cool. Now for the last, I'm just going to do a final 5 minutes. The link's in there. Obviously, message it away on Instagram if you wish. What's your Instagram page, Paul? Jack the Entrepreneur. Don't love the last name bit, but it's cool. Yeah, you'll see it. How did you get here? Paul, how did you find this link? I'm confused. Unless you saw it on TikTok, I'm assuming. But yeah, go to Instagram, Jack the Entrepreneur. Yeah, okay. If you're on TikTok, there'll be a little Instagram badge on my page anyway. You can click that, and I'll fire you over straight to my Instagram. Cool. So yeah, I'm just going to do a final 5 minutes of questions. What did I have to message you again on Insta to answer if you want the wholesale side, if you're new to Amazon completely, message saying free mentorship. And then if it's private label you're interested in, then just type in free private label. But just don't do like a full thing with it. Just do that so I can allocate certain things and kind of see it, because messages kind of get flooded sometimes. It's like, okay. Cool. So yeah, if there's any questions, I'll go into it for another 5 minutes. Chuck them in the chat. If not, we kind of get to that point, then I guess we'll just end the webinar there. I'll give it a couple minutes unless someone's typing, so I'll give that a second. Right, it says someone's typing, but I'm not sure if they are, so I'll give it a minute. Nice one. Cheers, Liam. Cheers, Dawn. I appreciate everyone coming, by the way. This is the first webinar I've actually done before. I thought it would be decent to try and get a full thing, as I said earlier, with myself, Johnny, Sean. Hopefully it was valuable as well for people who are completely new to Amazon and just considering it. Della, I'm not sure where I'm going to put the recording yet, to be honest. I only just decided that I can record it. I was speaking to them earlier and I have to pay extra for it to be recorded, but I was like, quite a few people said they were going to miss it. So I really wanted to get it recorded. It'll probably be on YouTube. I think that's just the best place for it to go. And I'll put the link on my Instagram stories and stuff. So keep an eye out for that. I'll have to like check that it's good and format it if I need to, if I've sworn or anything like that, and remove it to put on YouTube. What's the registration for? Oh, the link, mate. That's the thing I was on about. The thing that's coming for the Amazon space. It's gonna be pretty nuts. It's gonna have everything on there. If you're into Amazon and you're not in there, it'd be pretty silly not to be honest. Of a pay on results mentorship. Any chance of a pay on results mentorship? What do you mean? Like once you've made the £900 profit, then you're gonna pay me, kind of thing. Is that what you mean? Spill. You'll see, mate. You just got to keep an eye on the stories, keep an eye on the reels, and you'll see all the information about what's coming. But if you register your interest on that form, then as soon as it's live, you'll be the first to know, and you'll be able to see everything there, and you'll be like, oh, okay, pretty cool. Awesome. Well, I think at this point, people are dropping off, and it's a lot of thank yous, which I do really appreciate. I hope it was valuable. Awesome. So I think I'm going to leave it there. If there's no Amazon questions, business questions, or anything like that. Again, thanks everyone for your time, and please keep an eye out, because I probably will do this again. Maybe I'll bring different guests on or something like that, but I'll definitely do this again because I think it could be really valuable for you all. Awesome. Cheers, everyone. Have a great evening, and I'll catch you in a bit.